All right, so today we're going to do the Andy Warhol project, and that requires the use of an image. I am going to search for an image. I'm going to just type in flower. I'm going to go to images, and up in your little toolbar here, there's something called search tools, and you can actually search for large images. You can change the color so it's all black and white, the file type, and even the usage, which is nice. But we're going to find an image. Something with a plain background works well, but you also want to just always make sure that you're using large images so your image doesn't get distorted when you put it into Photoshop. Something like this wouldn't be so bad. These kinds of images would get a little bit too much. They don't really work out as nicely as something with a plain sort of background. I'm actually going to, I really like this one, so I'm going to use this image, and I'm going to open it. Sometimes you can go to View Image and then drag it from there. There's two things that you can do. I always tell students to take the image, drag it to their desktop, and then from your desktop, find your folder, Bridget Ruggiano. And once I'm in my Bridget Ruggiano folder, we have our Project 1 folder, and we're going to put that image in here. Okay, this way it's not on my desktop, and you guys can find your image just in case you want to use it again later. I'm going to take that image, and once I have that image open, I'm going to take it and drag it to Photoshop. Okay, and it's going to open up. Now, this is just my flower image. I need to start a new canvas. Whenever I'm working on a new project, I want to start with a blank canvas where I can choose the size. I'm going to go to File, New. I'm going to name this Andy Warhol. And I'm going to put my name, and for me, I'm going to put the block just so I know. And I want to change my size to US paper. My document type, it's going to be US size. That'll give me the preset for the letter size paper, which is 8.5 and 11 with a resolution of 300. It works out really, really well for this project. I'm going to click OK. Now, there's a few things that you might need to do. For me, my image is landscape. You guys can see how my flower is a landscape. My paper is portrait style. I'm going to rotate my paper. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustment, I just lied, Image Rotation, and I'm going to just put it 90 counterclockwise or clockwise, either one. If by chance you had a picture that was portrait, keep your canvas portrait style. You want your canvas to match your picture. I'm going to split my screen here. I'm going to take my Move tool, and I'm going to actually do this reversed. I'm going to move my picture over here, and I'm going to take my picture, and I'm going to drag it to my canvas. I can exit out of this picture. Okay. Now, I need to resize this image, and I also want to name it. I'm going to name this 1, or I can name it Original. It's number 1. We're going to do a grid style portrait. So I'm going to put that up in my top right hand corner, and I'm going to hit the Command T. That's a shortcut to transform your picture. Always make sure you're holding down Shift so you don't distort your image in any way. If I don't hold down Shift, I can make it look like an Oompa Loompa or stretch it out, and it'll look really silly. So hit Command T, and a little box will appear. Hold down your Shift key, and you want to make it relatively small. I'm going to do 3 here, and then I'm going to do 3 here and 3 here. So I'm going to use my Move tool. I'm going to make sure I'm on my Move tool. I'm going to move my image into the top right hand corner. Can you have white space around this? Yes. Do you absolutely positively have to? No. Some kids really like the white space. It creates sort of like a border. Some kids hate it. Whatever. Suits your boat. It's fine with me. So I'm going to take my layer here. You guys can see this is my layer. I named it picture number 1. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to actually drag it to this little post-it note type looking thing here. This will actually duplicate that layer. So I'm going to take it, I'm dragging, and I'm dragging to this post-it note, and it's going to look like nothing happened. In reality, there's now two of that image. They're just right on top of one another. So I'm going to take one of them, and I'm going to move it over. And with Creative Cloud, these cool little guides come up, and I love it because it makes things a lot neater, and you can make sure things are lined up correctly. I can already tell that once I copy this for a second time, it will not fit. That's okay. I can do one of two things. It's okay if this image is cut off. You could do a couple things. I could delete the first two copies and start over again, or I can go to Image, Canvas Size. And once I'm going to do that, my width, it just needs to be a little bit wider. So I'm going to try adding a 0.5 to that, and I'm going to click OK. I'll then have to come over here and move everything over a little bit. You can use your arrow key on your keyboard if you'd like. Remember, think about what layer you're on, because if you're on the first copy, you will not be able to move your second image. Let's see how that 0.5. Oh, it looks like I'm going to need a little bit more space. So I'm going to go back, Image, Canvas Size. And I'm just going to round this up to 12. Click OK. And that'll be plenty of space. I'm just going to arrow them over, only because I know they'll stay in a nice, neat line here, and it's not going to move over too much. Okay. Now, I have my 3 images. I'm going to keep copying this, and I'm actually going to change my file name, or my layer name, and I'm going to put 2. And the reason why I'm going to put 2 is because that's row 2. So I know exactly what row I'm in. I'm going to copy this again, and I'm just going to keep going until I have 9 total. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to change this file type, or this layer name, to 3, just so I know that this is in row 3. Copy it again. And then once you guys are done all of this, something that we're going to do is we're going to crop it. Some of you that have used a portrait style may have a ton of extra white space down here. I don't have a whole lot of white space. I'm going to use my crop tool, and the crop is just a standard crop tool. It's just like you guys use on your phone. And I'm just going to move this up just a little bit, just to get rid of this extra white space down the bottom. I'm going to click the check mark when I'm happy, and there's my image. Alright, so I'm happy with that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my first image. I'm going to click here and go to that layer. I can turn it on and off so I can make sure it's on the right one. I'm going to go up to Filter, Filter Gallery. Okay, I can zoom out. There's a little plus and minus sign, which I'm going to do. You're going to open, you can open all of these folders, and there's a ton of different filters in here. And don't just think that once you click on one, that's the end of it. You can change your tile size so they could be bigger. You can, for this one, I can change how big the grout is. I can change the color of the grout so it's a little darker. This one kind of looks like a puzzle. It's kind of cool. Or I can go really light so you can barely tell. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click on my second one. Now when I tell kids to do this, I go to my second one. I'm going to go to Filter, Filter Gallery. I don't want something that looks ridiculous. I don't want something that, oops, don't do that. Go to step back. Filter, go down to Filter Gallery, because if I hit Filter Gallery here, it's just going to apply the last filter I used. I'm going to zoom it out again. I always tell kids to try to have, use filters that sort of go together, especially in the row. If you have something that's totally off the wall, this is one of my favorite filters. I like to use this one a lot. You kind of can change your edges, your brightness, your smoothness. Just looks pretty cool. This is probably one of my favorites. I'm going to click OK. So, all down here, I might do different styles. Some that look like they're kind of that outline. These might all be the grout. So if I go to layer 2 or number 2, I go to filter gallery. It just looks better. You guys can also go through and move them around later if you'd really like to. I'm going to go a little smaller here. Maybe not. So basically all you're going to do is you're going to do this to every single one. You're going to do a filter for each different layer. And when you're finished, you're going to go to File, Save As, and you're going to make sure you save it as that Photoshop document. I'm going to go to File just so I can show you. Save As. And I don't want it saved in your book. It could be somebody else's folder. I don't see my folder right here, so I'm going to go to Desktop. And then I'm going to look for my folder. Here's my folder, Bridget Ruggiano. This is Project 1. And then I'm going to make sure this is Photoshop, and I'm going to click Save. When I'm completely finished, remember, always save as a Photoshop document first, so I can open it back up and say, oh, I really don't like that. Oh, I really didn't finish it. For me personally, I didn't finish it. So I'm going to go back. I can make adjustments. All of my layers are here, and I can change my image. If I go to File, Save As, and after you save it as that Photoshop document, you're going to go back and save it a second time. I want to make sure it's under Bridget Ruggiano, Project 1, and then I'm going to change this file type to JPEG. Make sure it says JPEG. You're going to click Save, and this little box is going to pop up. This box really is not going to have any huge effect on you right now, so you're just going to hit OK, and you're going to exit out. Now, I'm going to show you what happens is if you did not save your document correctly. You see here how I have two images. I have the PSD and the JPEG. If I were to only have saved it as a JPEG, I have students do this constantly. They'll take their JPEG, they'll drag it to Photoshop, and they say, oh, I can't finish my work. When you save it as a JPEG, it flattens the image. I cannot do anything with this. I can't change filters. If I change the filter, it'll change the filter over the entire piece of work. The only way I would be able to fix this is if I were to come over here, I'd have to use a tool, any tool. I'd have to cut these images out individually. I'd have to cut and then paste it back on just so you could even attempt to do what you needed to do. And at that point, it's not even worth it. Just start over. Please, 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 I'm going to show you again. I'm not going to save this. So that's if you go into a JPEG, but because we saved it as a Photoshop document first, I can open this Photoshop document back up, and it's right where you left off. I can go back. I can go to my, row 3. I can come up here, go to filter gallery, and do a different, filter, whatever I wanted to do. All right. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Hopefully I didn't go too fast for all of you. You guys should be able to catch up, no problem. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask at any time. Have a great day, and I will see you soon.